Good afternoon, everyone. Carl Defma joining you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is a big day for us here from our Milwaukee studios and on Fox Local, wherever you're watching us from. We are going to be expanding the show starting today, not just 1 hour Mondays through Fridays, but to 2 full hours each afternoon from 12:30 right now until 2:30 in the afternoon. Myself and Ben Handelman, along with our rotating cast of characters here from Fox 6 in Milwaukee, will be bringing you the news as it happens from around Milwaukee, around the state of Wisconsin, and of course around the country and the world as it dictates. So that's very exciting news for us today. I'll keep mentioning that over the next hour or so until Ben comes and takes the reins this afternoon. And let me tell you, we got a lot to get to today. So we're going to do a quick rip around of what we're following for you on this Tuesday afternoon here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. First and foremost, let me get you up to speed on the news of the day here in Milwaukee. It has been the news for quite some time. In fact, the abandoned boat, Deep Thought, is finally on the move. So we're going to check in repeatedly over the next hour or two with the process here as a towing company has begun the work this morning. They were out very early, starting around 6 or 7 o'clock this morning, trying to finally get this boat that was abandoned back in October, stuck along the lakefront here in Milwaukee, finally out of the water, off of that sandbar it was resting on, and across these rocks, so it's free and clear. And finally, this saga, this era of Milwaukee's interesting, quirky history along the lakefront could potentially be over. What you're seeing right now is kind of where we stand at this hour. The boat crews, the removal crews from this towing company are actually on a break right now. So they did a bunch of work this morning starting the process. They're on a lunch break right now, and then we'll continue efforts, and we will bring you updates from the lakefront. As you can see on the right side, quite a gathering. Our reporter this morning, Zoe Chapala, said about 100 people or so, she estimated, had all gathered to watch this process. This boat has become quite a viral attraction, even showed up on Google Maps in some cases after it first ran aground back in the fall, then was stuck throughout the winter months. There were previous attempts a couple weeks ago to try to remove it by water that failed, and in fact it got even more stuck along a sandbar there right along the Milwaukee lakefront between McKinley and Bradford beaches. Now today they have brought a towing company in from land. So they tried to get the boat out of there from the lake side of things. Now they're trying it from the county park side, right along Lincoln Memorial Drive. They had a couple big cranes set up, towing cranes, that then had cables and wires attached to the boat and began the process of getting it off the sand, out of the water. Now the really tricky part continues, which is how you possibly get this damaged, destroyed, and quite heavy still boat over that stretch of rock that separates Lake Michigan from the park and from Lincoln Memorial Drive beyond that. So that is the challenge for the crews, trying to get the right angle with their wires and cables to pull that boat up and over the rocks without completely shredding it along the lakefront there and causing a whole lot more damage to what has been quite the ordeal already. So we are going to get a live report from our reporter along the lakefront there covering this. She's actually chatting with some of the crew, some of the people there as spectators, as this has become quite a tourism attraction over the months, kind of an absurd one, a bit tongue-in-cheek at that. But once the crews get back to it as well, we'll bring you that live over the next 2 hours now of an expanded Wisconsin Live Desk. Now, one of the other things we're tracking as well, of course, what is coming to MKE. Actually, let's get back to the boat because we're getting a sense for the crane there that is set up. You're seeing it slack right now. What we saw earlier this morning, as we've been following throughout the day, was a taut line as it began to pull that boat off of the sand and the water, and then an attempt to get it high enough to get over the rocks. But some of the sand and water really weighing things down. That was part of the problem for the crews. So we'll see how that progresses over the next stretch of today. The goal was to have this done by today, a long but ultimately complete day. We'll see if that in fact happens for the crews there watching this boat, Deep Thought, finally get pulled off of the shoreline there along Lake Michigan. All right, I was getting to the other story that we're tracking today at Mitchell Airport and other airports all around the country, and certainly tomorrow as we look ahead to Wednesday. That is the deadline to have a real ID if you are in fact going to fly anywhere. That would be out of Mitchell International Airport or any other airport in the country. Even a domestic flight, you need those real IDs with that star in the upper right corner of your driver's license or ID to board and get through TSA. Besides that, you would need a passport, some other accommodations that could work, but the easiest way is to get a real ID. That deadline coming tomorrow. Although some breaking news today, Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, told a congressional panel today more than 80% of travelers already have those Real ID compliant IDs right now. Security checkpoints will still accept passports, other identification like tribal identification for members of different indigenous tribes around the country also work when that deadline goes into effect tomorrow. Now, if you lack identification, the Homeland Security Secretary did say they may be diverted to a different line, but they will have an extra step to get to, but that the chances of still getting through security are out there, even if you don't get a real ID by tomorrow's deadline. Here in Milwaukee, we've covered it. Hasn't been a noticeable difference really at the DMV locations around the area, at least here in the Milwaukee area of Wisconsin. Farther south, in Chicago, we had reports this morning, there were lines all around the block of people lined up at that DMV location in Chicago trying to get their last-minute ID in place before the deadline. So different story around the country, but here in Milwaukee it seems to be fairly smooth sailing for the travelers that still needed to get things. We also want to take you out to the White House, out in Washington, D.C., where a momentous meeting between the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the Canadian Prime Minister has now wrapped up. But this was a much anticipated meeting between these two leaders of these North American countries that historically have been close friends and partners, though that has changed quite a bit over the months since Donald Trump took office for a second term, and since Mark Carney certainly recently won a full term as Prime Minister in Canada as well. So that is something that we have been following. Some of the things coming out of that, President Trump saying that he is still making that push, as has kind of been a joke, kind of been a declaration of his, to make Canada the 51st state. Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, rebuffing that, saying Canada is never going to be for sale and will never be for sale. And one of the other back and forth is, of course, on tariffs. President Donald Trump has enacted these sweeping tariffs against trading partners all around the world, but certainly against one of our biggest trading partners and allies in Canada to the north. That was a key point of discussion between the two leaders during their first meeting at the White House and inside of the Oval Office today. We are also, of course, tracking, I mentioned the Real ID deadline coming tomorrow. It is a momentous day ahead as well for the Catholic Church, as we give you a live look at the Vatican there in St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, where the conclave begins tomorrow. So all of the preparation after the death of Pope Francis leads up to tomorrow, when more than 130 cardinals will meet inside of the Sistine Chapel and begin the work that could take days from there to try to select a future pope for the Catholic Church and the millions of practicing Catholics all around the world. Now, while we keep an eye on things here locally and around the country, we also want to check in on Pam Bondi. That would be the U.S. Attorney General, who just stepped to the podium right now from the Department of Justice. Let's listen in to the Attorney General for the United States, Pam Bondi, speaking right now on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
All of these individuals, if convicted, we will put you behind bars. There will be no negotiating, and we will lock you up for as long as humanly possible. We will not negotiate with those who are killing our family members, including brothers, sisters, daughters, sons, parents, friends. Everyone in this room, I guarantee you, knows someone who has been afflicted with drug addiction, and many who have known someone who has lost a loved one because of this trash on our streets. The precursors are made in China. It was sent to Mexico and came right in our country. And again, 6 of these individuals were here illegally. That won't shock you. And we're running a massive, massive drug operation. This kind of success doesn't happen without extraordinary leadership. And I want to personally thank my friend, DEA Principal Deputy Administrator Rob Murphy, DEA El Paso Division Chief, Agent in Charge Omar Ariello. I'm killing your name, Omar. Omar, okay. And U.S. Attorney, where's Ryan? Ryan Ellison. I also want to thank again the brave men and women of law enforcement. Last week I joined them at a DEA laboratory, and we went there, and it was truly remarkable what we saw, how quickly these cartels can manufacture and make fentanyl powder and put it into these pills. But people need to know, parents need to know, kids need to know, this fentanyl, this bus, these 3 million pills were oxycodone. They put this in Xanax, they put this in Adderall, they put this in Molly, the date drug or the party drug, something called Molly. They put it in cocaine, and they put it in marijuana. And it is to get you so highly addicted that you can't get off it. 75,000 Americans are dying each year because of fentanyl. 75,000. And that's why this is so important today. You've got to spread the word. If you know anyone who is taking any recreational drugs, they need to be extremely careful, because there is a very high likelihood it could be laced with fentanyl. And that's one of the reasons 75,000 Americans are losing their lives each day. It is the #1 cause of death for individuals between 18 and 34 in our country. More seizures are coming, more arrests are coming. I guarantee you that. And these dealers, these sellers, these street-level sellers better look out, because we will not be negotiating with you. We will bring you to justice, and we will not stop until this poison is off of our streets in our country. It is my honor to introduce my friend with DEA, Rob Murphy.
If you're just joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, that was the U.S. Attorney General there, Pamela Bondi, announcing a partnership with the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Mexico, a joint press conference announcing the outcome of what was a week-long multi-agency effort targeting a large drug trafficking organization that was responsible apparently for flooding different areas with fentanyl and other illicit narcotics that she just listed there. Let's listen into a little bit more of this announcement here today.
Led by Alberto Salazar Amaya, operating in the United States with no regard at all for the disruption to families, addiction, and ultimately death that was probably caused for the distribution. That nearly $5 million in cash represents poison that was distributed throughout at least 6 states that we were able to identify in this country, and who knows where it went when it was sold to that first level. Obviously a major organization. This team was able to infiltrate the organization at every level. We knew how the drugs were being brought into the U.S. We've identified the main players in Mexico who belong to the Sinaloa cartel, who was recently designated by this administration as a foreign terrorist organization. We are exploiting them at every level. We continue to do that. We expect more out of this investigation. Could not be more proud of the men and women that put their lives on the line every day, doing this job, working through the obstacles to make sure that the communities they live in, the communities we all live in, continue to be as safe they can be. So thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for giving us the attention it needs, and look forward to see what will happen in the future. And so with that, I'd like to introduce U.S. Attorney Ryan Ellison.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Ellison, and I'm the United States Attorney for the District of New Mexico. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the investigation that dismantled one of the largest and most dangerous fentanyl operations in United States history. This case involved coordinated efforts from federal, state, tribal, and local law enforcement agencies across multiple states. As a result of this ongoing investigation, 16 individuals have been arrested, including the alleged leader, Heriberto Salazar Amaya, an illegal alien from Mexico with 2 prior removals and direct ties to the Mexican cartel. In Albuquerque alone, authorities seized staggering quantities of illegal drugs and assets, including over 2.7 million fentanyl pills, 11.5 kilograms of concentrated fentanyl powder, 7 pounds of methamphetamine, multiple kilograms of heroin and cocaine, 41 firearms, to include ghost guns and weapons modified for automatic fire, more than $600,000 in cash, and numerous luxury vehicles. This sophisticated fentanyl and narcotics distribution network spanned New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, and Utah, and was responsible for distributing lethal narcotics throughout the western United States. The sheer scale and potency of this fentanyl is sobering, with enough lethal doses to kill countless Americans. All defendants face serious federal charges related to conspiracy and distribution of fentanyl, along with additional charges for firearms offenses and immigration violations in certain cases. I would like to thank the DEA's El Paso division, primarily the Albuquerque field office, as well as many other DEA field offices across the western United States, our local and federal partners, and the assistant U.S. attorneys that are prosecuting this case. Together, we have sent a clear message. We will not tolerate those who profit from poisoning American citizens. The fight continues, but today, our communities are safer with these drugs and criminals off the streets. Thank you.
There you're watching some of the different officials there discussing that multi-agency effort to target one of the largest drug trafficking organizations responsible for bringing fentanyl and other illicit narcotics into America. That was the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Mexico speaking. Now the U.S. Attorney General, Pamela Bondi, back at the microphone there. We have to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but when we get back to it, a number of things we're checking in on this Tuesday afternoon for you. First and foremost, this is the vehicle parked outside of the White House right now with both American and Canadian flags on that will bring Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, out of the White House after the end of his visit with President Donald Trump today. There was a public session with reporters in the Oval Office earlier today, then private meetings between both of those government officials and their representatives that, if anything comes out of, we will bring that to you here live on the Wisconsin Live Desk. And then, of course, we're going to get you back to the lakefront as we just saw a few of the crews back at it. Off to the very right of your screen there, the folks in the yellow, yellow working vests there, starting to get back after a nice break here, getting back to the work of trying to remove Deep Thought, the boat abandoned on the Milwaukee lakefront. We'll check in on that progress as well once we get back here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is the Wisconsin Live Desk. Good afternoon, Carl Deffenbaugh back with you on this newly expanded version of the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is 12:49 Central Time here in Milwaukee right now. Our show starts at 12:30 each and every day after the Wisconsin weather experts, starting today and now goes until 2:30 in the afternoon, bringing you the news as it happens from around our great state of Wisconsin and around the country. We want to get you back right now to the U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who is continuing to take questions from reporters now after announcing the results of a multi-agency drug trafficking operation, the results of an operation against a drug trafficking organization. There you go, important distinction there. Let's see some of the questions from the press that the U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is taking today.
He did not have any drugs on him because he was the leader, and that's what these cartels do, whether it's Sinaloa, whether it's MS-13, whether it's TDA. The highest leaders insulate themselves. Just like the TDA guy, you may have been with us in Virginia. When we arrested him not even half an hour away from here, he didn't have any drugs on him either. That's what they do. They live among us. They live in neighborhoods because they are the top level. So what will the charges be? Oh, I'm sorry. Multiple, what are the charges, guys? The multiple drug trafficking, conspiracy to traffic, multiple drug charges. But depending on the time, they need to serve their time in an American prison to keep them off the streets. And who knows where they would go next. They're part of one of the largest drug trafficking organizations and one of the most frightening cartels.
Alana, last one.
Go ahead.
How are you making the decision about whether to put on trial in the U.S. defendants who are living in the U.S. illegally? You said you want this man to stand trial in the U.S., but in another case, someone who was alleged to be a top MS-13 member, the department moved to dismiss that case and is going to deport that person. How are you making that decision about whether to bring?
Sure. Based on the time that they can receive in prison. If these people are all facing substantial charges, maybe that might change down the road, and they all are innocent until proven guilty. If convicted, though, they're facing a substantial amount of time in prison. And there's a very big risk, we all know, releasing someone, especially to Mexico. Sending them back to Mexico, who knows? They could attempt to get through our borders, not under Donald Trump, I doubt. But they're also part of a major drug trafficking ring in Mexico. So sending them back to Mexico to continue on with their drug business isn't going to happen under this administration. Thank you all. And if you want to see this, Alana, you may have seen this before, but if you all want to see this, it really puts it in perspective how deadly this stuff is. And that's what I'd wanted you all to see. Thank you all.
The U.S. Attorney General Pamela Bondi there with other law enforcement officials announcing the operations from the Justice Department and other affiliated organizations, including the Drug Enforcement Administration and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Mexico, targeting operation against one of the largest drug trafficking organizations out there that they say is responsible for flooding different American communities with fentanyl and other illicit narcotics. While they continue to take some photos there after the announcement as well, I want to pop something up for you here. Let me switch it over for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are tracking what is happening at the White House today as well. Pam Bondi's boss, President Donald Trump, met with officials from Canada, including the new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who was elected just recently, kind of riding a wave of anti-Trump support in his home state or home country of Canada. Mark Carney making his first trip to the Oval Office since he became Prime Minister there. He is supposed to potentially speak to the media if that happens after that Oval Office meeting, which was largely dominated by questions to President Donald Trump. If Mark Carney speaks, we will certainly listen into that here for you live on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But some other news coming from the Trump administration and the U.S. as a whole today. We're going to pop up the stock market for you. This is the Dow Jones Industrial, down just about a percentage point, about 400 points on the day so far in trading. We just got word on the rise in the U.S. trade deficit that has happened as a result of some of the tariffs, the sweeping tariffs the president has announced against most countries in the world, specifically China. New numbers from the Commerce Department show that the U.S. trade deficit actually soared to a record $140 billion in March. And that was as different consumers and businesses alike tried to get ahead of the most sweeping tariffs of all, with federal data showing really a stockpiling of different products, especially pharmaceutical products, reportedly. The deficit measures the gap between the value of goods and services that the U.S. sells abroad versus what it buys. And that deficit has roughly doubled over the last year. Again, we're kind of getting into the weeds with the numbers here. But in March of 2024, the Commerce Department records show the gap was just under $68.6 billion, the trade deficit. Well, that ballooned in March of this year, 2025, to a record $140.5 billion, as we see another difficult day so far on the stock market, down about a percentage point or so right now. All right, as we're back here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, we've been checking in with things around the country. Certainly your pocketbook or your bank account there, maybe your 401k, affected by some of those numbers as well. We want to get you back to the lakefront for the lighter story we are happy to cover on this absolutely gorgeous day, we can say as well. Here in Milwaukee, you're seeing the puffy white clouds, plenty of sunshine and blue skies out there, and the continued efforts to remove Deep Thought. That was the boat abandoned all the way back in October along the lakefront between McKinley and Bradford beaches. It was at one point a gleaming white ship there up against the rocks, has since been covered in different graffiti, has gone through the wear and tear of a Wisconsin winter, and is really a wrecked ship now at this point that they are trying to remove, thanks to some anonymous donors finally stepping in and trying to foot the bill for what Milwaukee County would have been responsible for paying for. As you're seeing our photojournalist there, Katie Brost, out at the scene going over some of the work, you see just how damaged and destroyed this boat is. The tricky part for this towing crew is trying to get it over the rocks along the lakefront. They have two different vehicle cranes set up right there on the running path. That's the reason the Lincoln Memorial and part of that path are closed today to let these crews do their work as best they can. Those crews just coming back from a break now. They do have cables and wires from those cranes hooked up to the boat. They tried to get part of it out of the water, but they need to get it up higher to really get it, the front of the boat, up and over. But the sand and the water that the boat was stuck in all those months really proving to be a challenge for those crews. There was an attempt by another salvage unit to try to get the boat out by water about a couple weeks ago. They had issues with Mother Nature and were unable to make that happen. So now a new company has stepped in here, All City Towing, and they are the ones trying to do the effort via land as opposed to from the water. We'll check in with our Stephanie Quirk, who is covering this for us as well along the lakefront, once we get back on the Wisconsin Live Desks, now running straight through from 12:30 to 2:30 each and every Monday through Friday, bringing you the news as it happens here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 Milwaukee YouTube channel.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back here as we cover the news of the day here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. If you're watching us from elsewhere in the state, you're probably like, what the heck? Why is the city of Milwaukee so focused on an abandoned boat along the lakefront? Well, it has become kind of a viral figure. It even got listed on Google Maps at one point, became this kind of de facto tourist destination along the lakefront because you'd go running, go walking by or just driving by even during the winter and think, that's weird, the marina's farther south. Why is there a boat so close to the shore up here? Well, it got stuck last fall, and it's been quite the ordeal, the saga, to try to get it out of the water there. And we do have some new information, actually, I want to tell you about from the crews who are working right now to finally get this boat named Deep Thought off of the rocks and over them so it can finally be clear and kind of get this eyesore out of here before what we're hoping is going to be a great Milwaukee spring and summer along the water there. So according to the crew out at the boat, here is the big issue right now. There's about 2 feet of mud inside the boat. And as you're seeing, it's a pretty big vessel, about 30 feet long, 8 feet wide. You think about 2 feet of mud inside. Just imagine how heavy that would be to try to lift and move as you see the cranes that they have tethered right now to Deep Thought. And then, of course, the rocks, pretty to look at. They protect the shoreline there, lead to some great photos as people go running up and down and checking things out, maybe a Milwaukee sunrise over there across Lake Michigan. Well, when it comes to getting a giant boat full of mud over those rocks, the crew says it's going to get, quote, ugly. So that is some of the challenge as they are right now doing some extra rigging. You see the guys in the yellow work vests there going back and forth across the rocks, trying to figure out the best way to secure that boat and get it out of there. We were on FOX6 News at 11 earlier today with our reporter Zoe Japalo, who covered this for Wake Up as well as for our streaming news here on Fox Local. You could actually see in the hull of the boat at the time as they were trying to start to hoist it off the sand and water, a rip in the hull from basically the cables and the things that they have hooked up to the boat. It's an aluminum hull. It's meant to be light and buoyant, of course, when it's on the water. Well, that kind of pull from the cranes with all of the weight of that mud and other debris inside the boat was basically just ripping across parts of the hull there. An example of some of the many issues for the crews trying to get this off of Lake Michigan, over the rocks, and finally out of here. So again, 2 feet of mud inside the boat. The crews are trying to figure out something to do about that and lighten the load, so to speak, before they actually make the attempt to lift the boat up and over those rocks. From there, it would finally get onto a tow truck and out of here. I'm sure many of the city leaders and county leaders who have been tasked with dealing with this, not a problem of their making, but one they have had to deal with, would say, good riddance to Deep Thought, while other people have kind of fallen in love with it. That's the result of it becoming this kind of like tongue-in-cheek viral star along the Milwaukee lakefront. Of course, all of the graffiti, people have, as they're not supposed to, but have jumped aboard, even taken some items from it. We saw a guy here on the Wisconsin Live Desk yesterday, it looked like was taking a part of a door or a hatch or something like that off of the boat, because he said he's been there a number of times to check it out, take pictures of the boat, and kind of enjoy the absurdity of it all there along the lakefront. Now, all of this started, if you remember, back in October when this boat, which was bought by a couple who's from out of state, was trying to sail it south. They were supposed to go along Lake Michigan, down to Chicago, over the Chicago River, and then to the Mississippi for this wonderful retirement voyage they were on. Well, it turns out they ran into some trouble. They couldn't make their way to McKinley Marina properly, and the boat was unmoored and ended up getting washed up on the rocks and the sand there. And then it became a question of whose problem this was. Was it the Coast Guard? Was it the couple who owns the boat, who have largely disappeared from the scene and been hard to track down and reach? So then it fell on a salvage crew, but they wanted, of course, their money to do that work. It's expensive work trying to get this off. That eventually came as it was determined that Milwaukee County was actually the responsible party in this case, and an anonymous donor stepped in with about $50,000 worth of money for the efforts to remove the boat. Another donor has since added $10,000 to that work as well. But despite some of the money being solved when it comes to the problems, that first salvage crew, Jerry Geyer was the guy leading that company, were not able to get the boat off of or unstuck from the sand and the water there along the shoreline. So now it's falling on All City Towing, which is the company that you're watching hard at work here on this Tuesday afternoon, trying to take it out by land this time with a series of cranes, tow trucks, and the like, all trying to get the work done. But again, the mud proves to be an issue. Hey, we're going to take you back. Actually, this is the joy of the Wisconsin Live Desk. You never know who's going to pop up. One of the U.S. Marines working, I believe that's a Marine, at the White House there just opened the vehicle door to what we believe will be the departure of the Canadian Prime Minister from the White House. That would be Mark Carney, who met with President Donald Trump earlier today, members of both governments having a series of meetings today about a number of topics, because of course the relationship between the U.S. and Canada, usually friendly allies, but that's become a bit testy over the past few months since President Donald Trump took office and since Mark Carney entered the political landscape after Justin Trudeau said he was stepping down as the Canadian Prime Minister. Carney's Liberal Party in Canada was supposed to be kind of dead on the water, dead on arrival, suffering all kinds of issues at home, but has ridden this wave of anti-Trump support in Canada to a surprise victory. And the two leaders who have certainly been at odds over U.S. tariffs against Canada, over President Trump's claiming that Canada could become the 51st state of the United States as well. Carney and other Canadians have completely spoken against that. So an interesting meeting, though it was largely friendly and cordial inside the Oval Office. We don't know what it was like behind closed doors between those leaders and their different officials there. But as the Prime Minister prepares to leave the White House, we do have to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're going to try to get you back to the news as it's happening here in Milwaukee. That would be the removal of deep thought. What a difference in topics and tones today from the White House back here to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is the Wisconsin Live Desk. You never know what's going to happen. Thought we'd catch the Prime Minister there. It didn't quite happen, but if it does on the other side of this break, we'll take you back to the White House. We'll see what we find after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
On on the Wisconsin Live Desk, hanging out on this Tuesday afternoon from our studio here in Milwaukee, the Fox 6 studios. Here's the fun fact. I'm inside of a closet. That's basically all you could say. It's a beautiful studio. It gives you access to all kinds of things, but it's basically a closet. No windows here. You know who does have the best view in the building or out today? That would be our own Stephanie Quirk. No one else I would rather have reporting on the removal of an abandoned boat than you, Steph, joining us. It looks gorgeous along the lakefront there, a 70-degree day and the sun shining. You can take it away, my friend. You have been covering this story for quite some time in many different facets, this saga of deep thought. Where do we stand today as you check in along those rocks?
Well, it couldn't be a more perfect day to be watching this kind of all go down here, or go up, or get pulled away, we should say. The removal of Deep Thought, this abandoned boat that has sat ashore in between Bradford and McKinley beaches for more than 6 months, since October 13th. Could it finally be removed today? That is the big question. So now we have All City Towing is the group that's actually, the crews are doing the removal today here near the lakefront. You can see, look at this behind me. The reason I'm sitting on the rocks, if you're wondering that, it's because I'm doing it like all the boat spectators do, and sitting on the rocks all out here on this beautiful day, seeing these crews, kind of the process of them removing it. So if you remember, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago or so, and for the longest time it was crews on water actually trying to salvage the boat, but this is the first time we've actually seen this different crew in charge, All City Towing, now try to remove it on land. They have cranes, these massive cranes trying to pull the boat out of the water onto the rocks, but you know, there's some trouble now because there's about, you know, there's what, was it 2 feet? There's a lot of sand stuck in the boat. It's a massive boat, estimated 15 to 25,000 pounds on top of all this sand and water that's stuck in it now. So they took a short break for a while, but it looks like they're about to get started up and try to keep pulling it with these massive chains. And I quote Jeff, who's actually the head of this All City Towing group. He said, "It's going to be, quote, messy." So,
yikes. Well, that's, I guess, an honest assessment there. Honestly, if people have not gotten a good look at this, we should say this is actually dramatic progress, seeing the boat, as your photojournalist Tanner is showing us, like up on the actual sandbar so close to the rocks there. That's a lot better than anyone else had gotten it so far. But here's my question, Steph. So it's not just the weight with the mud, but it seems like the angle, too. Those cranes are not necessarily as high as I thought they would be for lifting a boat up and over like this. Is this the equipment they're using? Are they planning to bring in anything else? I imagine the fear would be, you know, scraping it across the rock that it's just going to get torn to shreds.
well, that's kind of what they were worried about too. So they were talking about that. They did about an hour ago, right before they took a break. They said they're going to take extra precautions now because if you were watching earlier on the stream, you could see the chain almost kind of like ripping through. It looked like it was going to break. It looked like it was going to snap, and the front of the bow potentially like hitting the rocks, and then it's kind of breaking. That's the concern now. So I think they want to get it out today. I know they were saying that they are planning on spending hours and hours out here. They want to remove it. But I mean, we heard it with Jerry Geyer, and now we're hearing it with this crew. They're saying it's a lot harder than it looks. He said it's even harder than we expected. So right now it looks like they're doing some stuff on the inside. Earlier they were doing some stuff on the inside, kind of chaining it up there. But I will say, compared to all the times I've seen this boat, these crews across the city try to remove this boat, this is the most progress we've seen. And this is also the largest crowd we've seen here to watch it.
Might have something to do with the good weather that you got down there as well. It's a nice day to be out on the lake, let alone, but certainly for the novelty of watching this boat try to get pulled out of there. And yeah, to your point, it's not an issue with their chains or anything like that. It's actually kind of like ripping the hull of the boat apart to some degree as it's kind of pulling there. Let me ask you about the crowd, since you mentioned it. Are people in it for the long haul? Are they ever like tailgating out there along the lakefront? Or people kind of stopping by for a little bit? What's the scene like? This has become such a quirky part of Milwaukee, and it seems like it's kind of collecting all types.
It's like a festival out here. We were all dying. They're giving half off ice cream, or custard, excuse me. I got Ted Perry was actually out here earlier. He brought with his dog, and I said they're giving half off ice cream over there at the North Point snack shop. No, actually that's custard. So forgive me, but
Steph,
yes,
gotta
half
be good
off
about that.
until
It's
the boat.
Wisconsin. It's custard, not
I
ice
know.
cream.
He's like, come on, that's the Illinois in you. But they're doing half off custard until the boat is removed. So there's people, they're going to get their custard, and then they're coming out here to come and watch it. But there's people that are just kind of walking along, you know, maybe perhaps walking their dog or just walking with their friends, stopping by to check it out for 10, 15 minutes. But we've seen also people in it for the long haul, sitting here. A couple people brought their chairs out. So it's almost like, look at, there's people, it's, you know, laying against the tree here. There's a lot of people that have been sitting out on these rocks for a while now. Yeah, it really has become like a spectacle here, unlike anything else.
This
I mean,
is something else.
We were joking, it's like a festival.
Yeah, it is like the start to festival season here in the city of festivals, I guess you could say. I'm going to pop up, you can't see this from where you are, Steph, but I'm going to put up a graphic that we have here of some of the road closures as the result of this. So you're seeing that stretch of Lincoln Memorial. You guys know this well. The roads are closed basically from the Colectivo at the south end up until basically that road that comes down from the water tower above this stretch. Basically, so the crews this morning could bring in all those trucks that they're using in the cranes from All City Towing. So if, like Steph, you want to get a view of this, you want to join the crowds down there, plan on walking or biking from either of those two entry points because you can't actually drive the full stretch of Lincoln Memorial yet at this point. And Steph, I'll get back to you now as we pop things back up. Let me ask you this. The conversations with the actual crew, you kind of spoke to it, but like, eye-opening a little bit to them about how challenging this is proving to be? I can't imagine a towing company has had too many calls to tow a boat out of the water, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And also, he was kind of joking earlier, Jeff Pillar, he is the director, president. He's in charge of this entire group on All City Towing here. And he was saying, on top of the fact that it's a lot, A, nothing they've ever done, B, pulling a boat of this size out of the water onto the rocks, but on top of all of that, think about all these people watching and the fact that they're being recorded the whole time. He's like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little nerve-wracking having this big of a crowd watching us, you know, kind of try to do this. So that on top of it has definitely, they got more eyes on them, so they don't want to mess up and they're gonna do it right and they're trying hard. That's one thing, definitely a different experience for them that they've ever had, not just because of the fact that they're towing a massive abandoned boat out of the water onto these rocks and whatnot, but also the fact that they have a whole crowd for it.
Yeah, no pressure, right? As we're seeing the two different angles
exactly.
now. Your photojournalist, Tanner, and then the other shot on the left there is from our other photojournalist, Katie Brost, who's on the scene for us as well. Okay, so take us through this step. If you can see it from your vantage point, it appears that Katie's angle is kind of zoomed in on the boat right now. Looks like crews have these massive chains that they're trying a bit of a different approach maybe to get around the boat or at least hook up to a different part of the boat here, given some of the issues they were having on the front part of the hull. What can you see? Break it down for me, boat expert Stephanie Quirk.
I know, yes. I'm actually standing up so I can get a better view here too. That's kind of, well, it looked almost like, if you were seeing the live stream, it looked like it was gonna break through almost, this boat here. Carl, you said this earlier, I wanna say, was it like 2 feet? There's a lot of sand.
Yeah, that was the report like from the crews was about like 2 feet of mud, and this boat's like 30 feet long. So
yes,
you can kind of do the math.
Yes. Yes, and that's like, that also just, these chains too, it's like the fear of it kind of breaking through too, because it looked almost like it was gonna break through, so they said they're gonna take extra precaution now with these chains, but they're just basically going in and chaining it all around, basically, to try to get it on, even up to the rocks here, but then from there on, the plan was to tow the boat away. The next question, of course, is then where does the boat go? You know, so
yes.
Jeff Pillar, when I talked to him back on Friday, when we got the news that he was going to be, the All City Tow was going to be the crew in charge of removing this boat, he said that he potentially is going to maybe purchase the boat and then from there see what see what the community wants to do, see kind of what to do with the boat from there. Possibly, does somebody want to buy the boat? Is it going to become an unofficial landmark on land? Who knows what will be next for the boat? But right now, the main focus is getting this on, as you mentioned earlier, to get it on land. As you mentioned, that stretch will be closed until 8. It started at 8 o'clock this morning until 4 o'clock.
Although I think that the back end of that time
here
is kind of a loose estimate. They said basically closed until they finish their work for the day, which, as we're seeing, is taking some time.
That's kind of exactly, and because I think they underestimated the challenges that it would take, or how heavy. From what it sounds like from when we talked to Jeff and when we heard from him earlier, it sounds like they kind of underestimated how heavy and difficult this boat is to get out right now. You wonder how long they'll be out here, but they said they're going to spend as much time as they can to get this boat out, even if it takes them all night. So we'll see.
I mean, this is something out there. I gotta say, this has turned into such an operation.
I swear, Carl, they just keep coming. Like it's hilarious because they had their little break, their lunch break earlier, and the crowd kind of dispersed, but now it's like all these people that were like, oh, their lunch break is probably over. They're all coming back now. This is Milwaukee, I swear.
Look, this is a town that has a statue to a fictional TV character along the Riverwalk, all right? We can figure something out to an actual real live boat that actually made its way stuck across the shore there. You get the kid on his dad or somebody's shoulders there. We're checking things out. You got it all happening for you down there along the lakefront, Steph. I want to cut of this because I think this was one of my ideas from a few weeks ago when the first removal effort was happening, but they could totally sell pieces of this boat. So many people have gone down to see it, to check it out.
Oh, yeah.
They could definitely sell like, oh, have a seat from Deep Thought or have a window from this part, right?
Oh my gosh. And we were actually, I was talking about that with Jeff, the All City Towing guy. He basically said, he's like, I would predict that this is going to end up, pieces of it will be like scattered in like certain bars across the city. It'll be like, oh, you want to check out, Deep Thought? Oh, guess what? We have the front of Deep Part. Come to our bar, like that kind of thing. Because I mean, it's become a bobblehead too. Like this thing is, there's a pin for it on Google Maps, Carl. We were talking about this last time.
I mean, you can close Wolski's and like slap part of the boat on the door as you go out.
Yes.
This would be perfect, right?
No, honestly, right? Yeah.
No bad ideas when it comes to this ordeal for the city of Milwaukee. You and me both, that is for sure. All right, Steph, we'll let you get back to it there. Maybe you can sneak out for a little break. Go get yourself some of that 50% off custard from farther north as well. I cannot think of a better reporter and photographer tandem covering this for us today. Thank you very much to you and your photojournalist, Tanner. Go enjoy the crowds and the unofficial Deep Thought Festival down there along the lakefront.
Woo! Oh, we will. Thank you so much.
Oh, man. It is something else as we also use the other feed from our wonderful photojournalist, Katie Brose there, showing you the operation. The work continues and the crowds are only growing along Lake Michigan, trying to see what we thought would be the end of this tale. But as we have learned over the months since October, there is still no end in sight for the abandoned boat along the Milwaukee lakefront. All right, one more break coming for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. A reminder, though, if you are as enthralled, as enamored as we are by this abandoned boat, we're not going anywhere. The Wisconsin Live Desk now runs until 2:30 on Mondays through Fridays here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 Milwaukee YouTube page. So thanks for checking it out. A quick break and we'll get you back to the boat, back to any other news that comes our way over the next hour and 7 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are rolling right along here as we get you going on a Tuesday afternoon, 126. Beautiful day in Milwaukee as we'll give you a shot from our Estabrook Tower camera. But is it a beautiful day to remove a boat? The work continues along the lakefront right now, trying to get a deep thought out of here. I can say the man taking over for me in just a few minutes here on the Wisconsin Live Desk is the man you want to hear about boats from. That would be Ben Handelman, our Fox 6 anchor, who also is a big boat fanatic, going back to some of his time and fun on social media. So he's the man for the job. We're going to handle some far more serious news actually right now, as you're seeing drones and other boats out there on the lakefront, all getting an eye on deep thought out there. That would be what just came in from the Supreme Court. Breaking news right now from the U.S. Supreme Court on President Trump's administration's enforcement of a ban on transgender people in the military. Now, the Supreme Court, a ruling that just came out on this Tuesday, is going to allow that ban to be enforced. This would remove transgender people from the military. The Supreme Court allowing that to continue while also saying legal challenges will proceed. So the High Court acted in this dispute over a policy that basically presumptively disqualifies transgender people from military service. The three liberal justices on the court said they would have kept the policy on hold. Instead, it continues. The president's administration and the U.S. military allowed to enforce this ban on transgender members of the military while legal challenges to that ban proceed. That's the latest coming from the U.S. Supreme Court right now. We also want to get you out to a press conference happening right now about Juneteenth. Let me pull this up for you. We can listen to a little bit of it here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Some of the plans for the Juneteenth celebrations coming up just next month here in Milwaukee. Let's listen in.
$1 for each year. And today, breaking news, we have finally decided on honoring, who's going to be our Grand Marshal for the parade. It will be Miss Anna Mae Robertson. She recently turned 101 years old this year, and she is one of the last surviving members of the 6th AAA Battalion from World War II. We're happy to have her. We want this to be a beautiful day of community fun, family fun, and just, everyone coming out to celebrate freedom, love, and life. Thank you.
While that continues, we were going to announce a bit of a transfer of power here. Ben Handelman standing by. He's right off to my right now. We're switching things over on this first day. Hey, Ben, of an expanded Wisconsin Live Desk. He's going to keep things rolling till 2:30 for you, of course, checking in on the boat along the lake. But while this press conference is happening, we're going to listen to it in full while we do our changeover here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks a lot for watching. The fun continues with Ben Handelman up next.
Which is halfway there. We encourage all those vendors who would like to be food, retail, community agencies, businesses to come out and showcase for Juneteenth. It's going to be a wonderful time. We always have fun. Over 50,000 people gather to visit your booth, so you will get that exposure. And we just hope that we can get more individuals that would like to sign up. You can go to our website, juneteenthmilwaukee.com, and sign up online. And please sign up early because June 2nd is our cutoff, and we're not taking any vendors after that. Ms. Grant?
I just want to echo, thank you so much, Ms. Vanessa, for the opportunity to serve as the co-chair for the vendors. This is the 54th annual celebration of Juneteenth, one of the largest in the country, celebration of culture. As Ms. Vanessa just shared, we have hundreds of vendors. So if you want to look for an opportunity to support small business, Juneteenth is the place to do it. It's a safe environment, and we encourage everyone to bring out their friends and family.
Well, next up is our volunteer committee, Ms. Shay Green, representing.
Good afternoon. My name is Shay Gray, and I'm official co-chair this year, supporting our volunteerism. At this time, we do need more volunteers. So even if you're coming to participate and having some fun at the parade, we do recommend that you can give us 2 hours, 3 hours. So just make sure that you go online and fill out our volunteer application form. But at this time, we're kind of short, so we need 100 more volunteers to support the event. This allows us to have the parade running really well. We also want, safety and security for all of our individuals in attendance, and so we would love to have your smiling faces. And you get an opportunity to share love with other people while making sure they're safe and secure while they're attending the events on Juneteenth. So again, please take some time to go online, and if you only have a couple hours, we will accept it. Your support in helping us volunteer on that day. Thank you.
That said, I'd like to invite some very important people up. Safety is the most important thing for any festival. And we have our law enforcement partners. So, Captain Stowers, Captain Jack.
My name is Captain Charles Stowers from the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, and we aim to provide a safe event in and around Rose Park throughout the Juneteenth Day celebrations that are hosted by this committee. We'll be assisting MPD in any resources we have to assist that effort, and that's all I have.
I'm Captain Jeremiah Jacks with the Milwaukee Police Department. We're going to be providing security for the Juneteenth Day parade and festivities afterwards. We're looking to having a safe, family-friendly event. Thank you.
It's extremely important to always have your law enforcement partners involved in the planning. That ensures that you have a smooth event. So we learned that the hard way about 10 years ago. So we never start planning this event without law enforcement being involved. And we really appreciate the fact that they take the time to be in here from the ground up. So I'd like to invite Sarah up now to talk about our partnership.
Thank you, Tony, and I'd ask that you also join me because we've been collaborating every step of the way with I think we were introduced to one another like maybe July, right after we were both done with our events, recognizing that the date was gonna coincide. And what Tony said to me very, very early in this process was, not only is Milwaukee an incredible city in general, but the fact that we've all cultivated this tradition of the city of festivals, as seen by Juneteenth, 54 years old, Summerfest, 57 years old, is really something special, and we're really excited to celebrate that together. So in terms of our partnership, I think it's really important to note, and as all these folks would very much tell you, what's happened in the past is going to continue to happen, and with the parade and, of course, the Freedom Ball and the pageant and the scholarship and all the great things that are happening. And then we will continue that celebration at Summerfest with not only some great recognition of the scholarship award winners and Mr. and Mrs. Juneteenth at our opening ceremonies, but also through great musical talent, including, I think you're particularly excited to see Gary Clark Jr., if I can offer that, right? So Gary Clark Jr., the Isley Brothers, Mike Jones, Genuine Fabulous, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Eric Bonet, a local star. We just couldn't be more excited to continue the celebration at Summerfest. So what did I miss? You tell me.
Well, we didn't miss anything. So what's important to understand is this is a ongoing partnership. Neither festival is ever going to stop. So the partnership will be better as we go forward. It'll be an opportunity for families to plan to come to both Juneteenth and Summerfest. So we're looking forward to two great events and the opportunity for our young people, Mr. and Mrs. Juneteenth, to be introduced at opening ceremony is well worth us providing the effort. For all those people out there that are worried about Juneteenth, Juneteenth will continue as it's always continued. It belongs to the city of Milwaukee. So don't worry, it's not leaving King dry. We're just growing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please.
Come on. Any questions? This is a real partnership. This is trying to make sure that both festivals are able to reach more people.
That's right.
This is, unfortunately, our president doesn't like diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, we do. And Milwaukee is Milwaukee. Our festival is a national holiday. And it's for all Americans, not just African Americans. It's for all Americans. So coming to Milwaukee, you get to come to Juneteenth, or you get to come to Summerfest, do both festivals because you are welcome at both. So.
And more to come. So today is really about, again, announcing the theme of the Juneteenth celebration as planned by the committee. The scholarship, the pageant, and the parade details. There'll be more to come on our partnership in the weeks to come as we both prepare for our events. Any other questions?
Did the partnership really start when you guys figured out that the dates were going to be having to go so?
Yeah. I mean, so I know that Summerfest, and you could probably tell me more history in terms of, we've participated in the parade in the past, and we hope that our tickets are a hot commodity as different folks get ready to celebrate the Summerfest festival. But this year, it made a lot of sense considering we both are taking place on the same day.
So over the next 3 years, Summerfest and Juneteenth are going to be occurring at the same time. We both should be fired if we didn't recognize the ability for us to come together and make two things really better than they already are.
So will the parade still be on?
The parade will still be on King Drive. It will never leave.
And the festival?
Will still be at the grounds.
The festival will still be at the grounds, but the Juneteenth festival is
it's always going to be on King Drive. Nothing leaves.
And then, is there any challenges with security or anything with having that many people in one area?
Well, the challenges with security is why we start off our planning with law enforcement. So every step of the way, law enforcement is involved in what we're planning. So I think we have a great plan laid out, and Captain Jack and his team and Captain Stowers and his team know their jobs. This isn't new to them. They know what they're doing. They're professionals. And I'm very comfortable in my position that they're going to keep us safe.
Someone had mentioned volunteers and the fact that you still need some. If someone wants to be a volunteer, how can they go about doing that?
if you want to be a volunteer, I believe Ms. Gray explained that very well, that go to the website. If you have a company that wants to volunteer, go to the website, fill out the application. It will go to Ms. Gray's team. They will immediately reach out to you. So just go to JuneteenthMilwaukee.com, click on volunteers, and it will take you to the application. Tell you exactly what they need.
If I can just mention one more thing in doing, it's on the subject of volunteers, but it is on the subject of partnership. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't recognize April Scaife, who from our team joined the Juneteenth committee. Wonderful asset to Milwaukee World Festival, who's also now working on the committee as an active member. So forgive me, April. Thank you for all you do. Theme.
Okay, we can talk about it. What we did was look at our community and what we're trying to do. And actually, Miss Williams, that was your theme.
So each year, as a committee, we allow the committee, because it's committee members from the community, to throw out themes for the year, and we vote as a committee. So my theme was actually chosen last year. This isn't my theme this year, but that's okay. It was a great theme. And the theme is, and I'll let George Akban talk about it because it's with the parade. Thank you.
The theme for this year is a celebration of love, life, and freedom. I think every American, every family, every good Milwaukeean can get behind that theme, and we're welcoming everyone to come out and celebrate with us.
I think we're all set, right?
Yep. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for coming.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Happy Tuesday, everybody. That was the Juneteenth press conference. Yes, we're getting closer to summer here as our camera is freezing a little bit out there. But yes, Juneteenth will be here in, just about a month. Milwaukee with one of the largest Juneteenth celebrations in the entire country, one of the oldest celebrations as well. Recognizing the emancipation of the last African-American slaves in this country. 54 years strong Juneteenth celebrations have been going on in Milwaukee, and you just heard about some of the collaboration that will be happening between Summerfest and Juneteenth this year, because Summerfest, with their 3-weekend format, is actually earlier this year, and they're now coinciding around the same time, so there will be some collaboration and some concerts directly related to the Juneteenth celebration. So it should be an exciting time, and they're getting ready for it, having that press conference today down there at the Northcott Neighborhood House. Okay, it's a new hour here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is the first time that we have been doing this, expanding this, and if first time here at the Wisconsin Live Desk, these are the only rules. Everything you are about to see is coming in live, and we right now are on Boat Watch 2025. This has captured the attention of our city. Live picture now as they are trying to get this abandoned boat, which has been stuck there along the shores of Lake Michigan in Milwaukee, out of the water. Good news, it looks like they have gotten it out of the water. They've been working on this all day long. Carl had a pretty great recap of the history of this boat. Katie's down there, our photojournalist, and that's a pretty good shot of what's happening right now, because UFC, this is All City Towing, who has been brought in to try and they tried to get it out on the water with a guy named Jerry who does these things, and they failed. They could not get it out. They could not get this thing out from the lakeside. And in fact, a second boat got stuck in the process. Here's the issue. There is a sandbar where this boat got stuck. It ran out of gas after a couple from Mississippi bought it. Apparently, presumably, they don't know a lot about boats. and the thing ran out of gas, and they just abandoned ship. Well, this boat has now been stuck on the sandbar for 6 months, and in the process, we found out today it is full of at least 2 feet of mud. Think about how heavy that is as it is suctioning the boat down, and they've been able, using these tow truck cranes, and this is the kind of towing equipment they would use for large trucks. You know, if a big truck gets into an accident on the interstate, it needs to be flipped over or something. That's the kind of equipment they're using. But now they've gotten to the tricky part. They've been able to kind of wedge the boat up onto the shore. You can see the crews there, and now they have to somehow lift it up over these jaggedy rocks onto the shore. They've shut down Lincoln Memorial Drive in Milwaukee. That is closed right now, and they're going to try and then put it on a tow truck. How will they get it up on the rocks? My guess is really as good as yours. I have no idea how they're going to do this. It has been such a slow process throughout the day, but we're going to continue to follow this live. There's a couple of press conferences that we're following at this hour. Democratic leaders, they are meeting in Washington. The State Department, they're having a press conference. This is Tammy Bruce taking questions about all the issues going on in the world. Let's listen and see what she's talking about.
Celebrate the Victory Days. What are you concerned about China and Russia's military cooperating?
Well, what I've said several times from this podium is that there are several nations that are responsible for helping move the carnage that is unfolding in Ukraine in this war. That many nations are responsible for the nature of how it continues. And I've stated that several times. The State Department has as well. And so I'm going to leave that there. Regarding our missions and our consulates, I have nothing to report for you at this point regarding the nature of what will be transpiring, but I will ask if we can take another look at perhaps if there are announcements or any updates on that particular dynamic. We'll get back to you, certainly. Yes, sir. Glasses.
Yesterday there was a meeting of United Nations Security Council where all the permanent, non-permanent members were there, including U.S. That meeting was on the Pakistan-India tensions, and all the members were of the view that the only way to resolve Pak-India tensions is to resolve the Kashmir issue. And
I'm sorry, to do what?
The Kashmir issue should be resolved.
The Kashmir issue, yes,
Kashmir
of course.
should be resolved through UN Security Council resolution, which were adopted and approved. Like many decades ago, US also approved it. So just wondering if you want to say about something or any position.
Well, there's, as we know, this is a dynamic, serious issue. So I'll repeat some of what I've said before, but as you know, I'm limited here. It remains an evolving situation. We clearly are still closely involved in monitoring. We continue to urge Pakistan and India to work towards a responsible resolution that maintains long-term peace and regional stability in South Asia. We remain in touch with the governments of both countries at multiple levels. We are not watching from afar in that regard. We are engaged. We're aware of various reports that are happening in the midst of this very delicate situation. And of course, I think without being involved, certainly in the phone calls, it's comfortable to have tremendous trust in the President and in the Secretary of State when it comes to how this is unfolding. All right, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll move on.
Do you confirm that there is a meeting with Iranian this Sunday? This is the first. And the second one, is there any connection between the Houthi ceasefire and your diplomatic engagement with Iran?
This is the Houthi dynamic and other things that are unfolding. We have news every day, fortunately, much good news. And this has been a commitment from day one, right? From the moment and before, certainly back to his first term, what President Trump has been interested in. So while we're going to have all kinds of things that might happen at the same time, it's important to not conflate them. That we have results of things that have been worked on for weeks and months that are now coming to fruition. Also, the President's interest in, as an example, the aid to Gaza and his personal involvement and commitment to having that get resolved is something that does make things move faster, but everything his administration does is fast moving. So I would say that is to be cautious in the fact that we're looking at the development of things that are important but have been in the works for a long time and are not tied to a certain development or linked to one thing or another. But you're going to have things happen at the same time when you've got a singular region, multiple issues happening, multiple negotiations, multiple efforts for ceasefires. Inevitably, things are going to happen simultaneously. But I think that is the result of the kind of work that we've been engaged in for weeks now. And so that's all I can say about that.
So that is Tammy Bruce from the State Department taking questions from international journalists. Just one of the many things that's happening at this hour that we're following here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're also seeing Democratic leaders. They are talking on Capitol Hill right now. But the story of the afternoon here in Milwaukee, Boat Watch 2025. Here we go, everybody. Will they be able to get the stuck boat out from this area? This kind of reminds me of like an old 90s Nickelodeon show where you've got to like jump over some jaggedy rocks. Maybe you're on the blue piranhas, purple piranha team. And well, it's All City Towing's in the yellow, and their job is to try and get this boat that has been stuck along the shores of Lake Michigan out of the water and up there. And this has been such a slow, fascinating process, but we're going to continue to watch it here on the latest hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back in a second.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Oh, you ready for a little Fox 6 history? Welcome to the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is the expanded hour. First time we're ever doing this. We're going to go all the way from 12:30 here until 2:30. So we still have about 45 minutes left on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Hey, if this is your first time on this adventure and you're a news nerd like the rest of us, these are the rules of the Live Desk. There are no rules. No, just kidding. There are rules around here. The only rule, though, is it's got to be live. So unlike a newscast where you're watching things and there's edited video and we kind of know where we're going, we have no idea where we're going on the Wisconsin Live Desk, because if we go to the one and only rule we have here, it's got to be live from this control room. I've got access to all different live feeds from around Wisconsin, around the Midwest, around the nation, and really around the world, because look at what just popped up on one of our routers here. Vatican City, things are getting pretty interesting out there in Italy. I guess this is its own country, the Vatican, so within Italy, within Rome, Vatican City. The conclave begins tomorrow. The selection to pick a new pope. All of the cardinals have gathered, and they are there ready for what is, there has been lots of movies made and books written about what happens during a conclave, one of the most secret processes there is, as we're now just a day away from this fascinating process to start after Pope Francis passed away. The funeral services have ended, and now the Catholic Church is getting ready to move on and pick its new leader. So we will continue to follow all of the developments in the next fascinating few days. It's really unclear how long this process could take, whether it be a day, several days, more than a week. There's really no expected timeline, and really it's unclear who will come out as the new pope, as only the cardinals inside are allowed to decide what will happen. They've all been sworn to secrecy. They have been told that if any news from what happens inside that building gets out to the public or the world, these cardinals could be excommunicated, basically kicked out of the church. And they all take their job, their oath, and their duty to pick the new pope very seriously. So through a lot of prayer and guidance, a new pope is about to be picked out of the Vatican. We're still watching this press conference coming out of the State Department. Very interesting, as some of the international media is asking a lot of questions here of Tammy Bruce there at the State Department. And I'm always fascinated how she's able to, you take any world issue, and here, we'll just listen for a quick second here, and she is knowledgeable and able to basically answer anything that some of these journalists are throwing at her, again, from all around the world. Let's listen in.
That's why there's been this dynamic of we've got to see progress in order for us to understand the process and how our process and how our posture in that will continue. And that becomes the question.
So let me ask you a more broad
Because you
question.
ask me in a different way.
No.
All right, go
More
give
broad
it a shot.
With regards to the negotiation, but also broader, do you still support the principle of territorial integrity and not changing?
That's a much easier, much different
borders
question.
by force?
Obviously, I'm not. Now, if we were at a seminar somewhere at my alma mater at USC, I would love to have that conversation with you, but I won't here today. Matt, so you wanted me to follow up on the German elections, is that right?
No.
The election of the chancellor.
Yeah.
If you have something.
Yeah, yes. So we congratulate Friedrich Merz on his election as chancellor in Germany. We will continue to work with Germany and its next government to ensure the security of the United States and Europe.
Okay.
So there you go. Congratulations to the new chancellor.
Wait, hold on.
Matt, that's it for today. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Obviously, that press conference is ending, and this is getting more interesting here. As the boat, there's some movement, and let's see if I have audio on the boat right here. Boat Watch 2025 continues live on your screen, because now some workers, look at all the people on the rocks watching this. I don't know if all these people have the day off or they've taken the day off to watch this process unfold. It is pretty fascinating, but look at all the people on the jaggedy rocks. And okay, that's not good, because now the crew members are walking away. And I've got the audio pushed up. Okay, they're obviously moving some trucks around. So there is deep thought, and we're all in deep thought of how you get a boat up over some jaggedy rocks that, again, we've just learned today there's at least 2 feet of mud, sand, water in the bottom of this boat that's weighing it down.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting, what's happening there. Oh, hold on here. We're getting audio from a different channel here, and I'm not hearing it. Oh, here we go. Okay, a more accurate audio channel of what's happening with our boat. Okay, so this is the process that they're going to be doing all throughout the day, where they're going to pull it with the tow trucks and then move the chains to a different angle to see if they can continue to slowly wedge the boat up over the rocks. And it's interesting to see the crews now are working towards the back of the boat as they brought in some new chains back there to try and hook some new tow lines on. So that is pretty interesting. Okay, something else we're watching. It's right here. We got some Brett Lemoyne. I think you've by the greenest grass in Waukesha. Brett, well, hold on. I don't have your audio here, Brett. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Brett's on a construction story. I'm more impressed with the grass, so I don't know if you have any grass tips for us, but stay with us. 2 minutes away for an interesting story out with Brett Lemoyne in Waukesha. You're watching us live here on the Wisconsin.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Oh, what up, news nerds? Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk and what has been a crazy, exciting hour. And we're making some Fox 6 history here because we have expanded the live desk that will go for at least another half hour here as we're taking you all throughout Wisconsin, the Midwest, and beyond. And that includes what's going on out in Delafield. And I want to bring in my colleague, Brett Lemoyne. Uh-oh, Brett, they say there's 2 seasons in Wisconsin, winter and what's happening behind you, construction. What's going on in Delafield?
Construction season, and, Ben, it overlaps with another season, wedding season. Let me explain. We are right at the line here between the city of Delafield and the village of Heartland, and if you've been navigating around in this area, if you've been driving around Heartland, you no doubt have been impacted by this particular construction project. This is Highway 83. It is closed from Gulf Road to Vettleson Road. It's a 3-mile stretch, as we said, between Delafield and Heartland. And crews, DOT crews, they're making some improvements to traffic signals, pavements, and turn lanes. People in this area say it is badly needed. But right in the middle of this project is this venue right over here. It's Rustic Manor 1848. It's a wedding venue. And the owner says she found out 3 months ago that this massive project was going to be taking place. And it has caused not so much a huge headache for them, but it has been a major inconvenience. Like this, what you're looking at right now, Ben, this is the driveway to get into their building, into the wedding venue, and it is dug up and inaccessible. So the owner of Rustic Manor says she's kind of entered into a little bit of an unconventional marriage, if you will.
See what you did there.
Herself and the DOT, because they've had to kind of plan this out. They're working together to make sure that there isn't that big of an impact to wedding guests. You can imagine, Ben, you know this, you're married. They booked this wedding venue out, 2 years in advance, right? So, I mean, they're already booked for this year. So it has been kind of a little bit of a headache for Rustic Manor to get in contact with all these people who are coming in for weddings over the next couple of months to let them know the exact detour to get here.
How do you even get in now?
That,
So I get, because the driveway's gone.
I'll tell you. The driveway's gone right now, yes. So that should be fixed, hopefully by this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when their busy days are. But for now, the big issue, Ben, is the other end of 83 that you can see down here also has construction. So in other words, crews are working their way closer and closer on both ends until they get in front of Rustic Manor, and that's really when the big problems may start for them. They said they don't know when that's going to be, when it's going to be right in the middle of their venue here. But the DOT's been giving them sometimes 24-hour notice, sometimes a week notice when things are taking place here. But yeah, you got to follow a pretty significant detour through not only a residential zone, but also kind of an industrial park. And my photojournalist and I, Jared Harrington, we stopped and we talked to some people who live along the detour, and they said, yes, there's a lot of dump trucks like you see right here that are going through their neighborhood at all hours, but really it is for the greater good, because they said 83 has just been a mess for a long time with potholes, and there's just a general need for this restoration project, if you will, to take place. But very interesting, kind of comical in some ways, not certainly for Rustic Manor, but the fact that it is now overlapping for all of those months, 6-month-long project, just so happens to overlap with wedding season and all of these, hundreds, more than 100 weddings and events that they have planned for just about every weekend throughout this whole construction project. You're driving, before you walk down the aisle, Ben, you got to drive through a mess. So it's a lot to kind of have to deal with.
If that's not in the speeches, either when people get married or from the best man or the bridesmaids, they've done it all wrong. Because you're right, Brett, that's a question I never asked when I was getting married. Granted, it's usually, the bride's the one in my life who had to do all the asking of the tough questions. But you're not like, oh, will there be the most major construction project that your road has ever seen in probably the last few decades happening during my wedding?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a barn that's attached to this historic building that you see here. You can't quite see the barn from the tree line where we're standing. So I mean, it is an indoor venue, but of course, in the summertime, we like to get outside. We like to kind of, open up those barn doors, let the fresh air in. And, now you're kind of dealing with all this dust and dirt. Just let's hope the bride's not wearing orange, right?
Oh, she may be safer getting in that way, I think. All right, Brett, very interesting. Look forward to your story coming up on Fox 6 News at... Wait, what is that? That's like a giant cable behind you. See, I'm just turning into like
no idea.
A little... Oh, you know what that is? That's an old culvert, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
I'm asking you like you're an engineer all of a sudden, because you've been out there for like a couple hours, that you suddenly know exactly everything they're digging up.
But hey, the lawn
is
amazing, right?
I live closer to the lake. You Waukesha County people, I mean, you've had the warmer temps. The lawns are looking great. Needs a few mows in there.
This is Aurora Health Center in Heartland is this responsible for this.
Get me the name of their landscaper stat before you come back today. Hey, kudos to Jared for somehow getting you in by that close construction. And now you know where to go back with your son with a lawn chair to watch it later, watch them work. Because some people actually do enjoy the construction. They just usually are under the age of 8. So,
yeah, they're 5. Yes, it's entertaining for a lot of people. It's no boat though, Ben. It's no boat.
It is not any boat. And actually, I think we've talked long enough because we have to get to the story of the day, which is the boat. So, Brett, look forward to your reports later tonight. Thanks for spending some time on the Wisconsin Live Desk with us. Appreciate that.
All right, thanks, Ben.
Okay. Brett said it's no boat. Well, this has been the story that we're all watching today. How in the world are they going to get this boat out of that area? They've been making some progress, but not really any since I showed up on the Wisconsin Live Desk about 45 minutes ago. Man, slow going to try and get deep thought out of the lake and onto a tow truck. Stay with us. The Wisconsin Live Desk and our live coverage of Boat Watch 2025 continues after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. We were made a promise, well, a loose promise, that a boat would be removed from the water today. They've been trying to remove the boat, but there it sits, wedged on the rocks in downtown Milwaukee. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Wisconsin Live Desk. This has been a thrilling day here on our new expanded coverage of the Wisconsin Live Desk. So from every day, Monday through Friday, from 12:30 until 2:30, we're going to take you on a journey where we don't know where we're going. Some days we'll be pulling boats out of waters. Some days we'll be covering press conferences in Madison. And other days, who knows where the day will take us. Kind of interesting. Deep Thought's been stuck in the water for 6 months after a couple from Mississippi bought the boat. Apparently didn't know a lot about boats because it ran out of gas. They didn't make it to McKinley Marina. Then they abandoned ship, got off the boat, and then stopped answering phone calls. So Jerry Geyer is a man who is with kind of a all-you-can, he does basically everything in Milwaukee when it comes to boats. He took it upon himself to try and get the boat out of there with some really expensive costs. From the lake, though, he's a water guy. He takes things out of, if you drop something in Lake Michigan, he can scuba dive and get it for you. If your boat gets stuck in the water, usually he can get it free. So he was hired to remove the boat, but then the people from Mississippi stopped answering their phone calls. Then an anonymous donor came forward with a $50,000 donation, and then Jerry Geyer got a boat stuck himself and was unable to move it, so they brought in a tow company. And Katie Roast is our photojournalist giving us amazing views of the tow cranes that All City Towing has brought in to try and pull this thing. And look at all the drones. People are flying drones all around this because, look, I see there's 2 drones. Whoop! Do you see that one go? There's drones all around there. There's mad seagulls who probably are very upset with all the noise that's happening. And a crowd has gathered because This is maybe the best day we've had weather-wise in Milwaukee of the year. Unbelievable weather out there. So this huge crowd has gathered to see if this tow company can save the day. They have been working all throughout the morning. They've moved the boat up onto the rock, so they've made a little bit of progress. But here's the issue. They tell us that there is at least 2 feet of mud stuck in the bottom of the boat. So there's also water, and it keeps shifting, and apparently there's holes in the boats too that's allowing more water to come in and more sand and stuff. And just imagine how heavy that boat is. It also, I think, is actually acting a little bit like a suction cup, that this thing is like suctioned down into the lake bed, into the shoreline here in downtown Milwaukee. All those rocks there are to protect the shoreline from the waves of Lake Michigan, but it's making it an extra challenge here as we're trying to get this boat up and out of the water. Hey, that leads us to a Fox 6 Insta poll that we will be running on Fox 6 News at 4. Boat Watch 2025. What would you like to see happen with the boat? Just junk it? Turn it into a statue? Make it an art exhibit? Make it into a playground? Blow it up? I'm not sure that's the safest idea, but maybe we don't have July 3rd fireworks this year. Maybe that could replace the July 3rd fireworks. But it doesn't sound safe, and I'm not sure what the insurance policy would need to be. Renovate for lake tours. Oh, that's interesting. Like maybe keep the graffiti, but I'm pretty sure this boat's already junked. I don't think that's salvageable. We've actually seen people take like pieces of the boat, like small little chunks off of it as mementos because they know this thing's going to the scrapyard. So I talked about that donation earlier, the $50,000 donation. Well, when Jerry Geyer couldn't get it out of the lake from the water side, someone else came forward with another $10,000 as a donation. So we're up to $60,000 to try and get the boat out. Now, All City Towing said they would be able to get this boat out by the end of the day today. And the rigs that they have brought in, those would be used to, if a semi gets into a crash or like runs off the road, that's the kind of equipment they've brought in. So it's used to handling really heavy cables. But this is kind of dangerous work too. I mean, you got the workers on the jaggedy rocks. The cables, you have to make sure don't snap at any point because it's obviously not used to bringing up a boat that already weighs a ton. And then, yeah. Oop, I'm seeing some movement. Katie, can you zoom in on that guy's hands? Because they're like making... Oh, I'm not sure if she can hear me. But they're making some... Oh, here we go. You hear that? The line's getting more taut as they're moving in. Let's listen in. On the Wisconsin Live Desk, Boat Watch 2025.
I don't know how I just texted my nephew yesterday. I said, give me down his lake.
Look at that thing. It looks like a... Oh, it's a little winch. Okay, I see what they're doing here. That is a winch that they brought in to try and bring this up. Okay, I want to get back to this in a second, but I got a new channel that just popped up. This is Sean Duffy. He's from Wisconsin. He is the transportation secretary, and he's taking some questions. Let's listen in.
The controllers that have called out due to trauma, is there an effort to bring them back? Is there a conversation with them? What do you think should be done to backfill for the controllers in the Traycon that said there was a traumatic incident because this went out?
Yeah, so the controllers said they're traumatized, and they're not on duty right now. I want to make sure that my controllers are of good mind and good spirit when they come in. It's an intense job. But just to that point, last week we announced, again, we're 3,000 controllers short in America, 3,000 short. And again, we've been 3,000 short for a very long time. And so what I've done is I'm taking the top qualified, the best qualified applicants who take the entrance exam, I'm putting them in the academy first. It was taking a year and a half to get a slot in the academy until you got your seat in the academy. If you're 25 years old, you're going to find a new job. So we were losing potential candidates to go to the academy. And also when we take the best qualified, we're hopefully going to lower our washout rate. Right now the washout rate is 35%. If we can get it down to 25%, we'll be way better off. We're rejiggering the staffing in Oklahoma City. So we think we can supercharge our air traffic controllers through the academy. That takes time. It's 2 to 3 years to certify a controller after they come out of the academy. What we've also done is controllers can retire after 25 years of service. And again, these are the best equipped controllers that we have. And so I've offered them a 20% upfront bonus of their salary to get them to stay on the job, not retire. And so hopefully we're going to have a lot of those controllers stay on the job, and as we bring more controllers on, we're going to deal with this 3,000 controller shortage. But again, you need to see problems and try to address the problems surrounding this sector that wasn't done over the past 4 years. Yeah.
So this is Sean Duffy taking questions from reporters talking air traffic controller shortage. Obviously, after that crash they had in Washington, D.C. that was fatal between a helicopter and a plane. All right, we got to take a quick break, but a lot's going on. We're still watching the boat saga. We're expecting the Prime Minister of Canada to speak any minute. There's a new press conference that just popped up in California, but will they make any progress on the boat? We'll find out in a second here.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Boat Watch 2025. It continues. What's going on down there? I'm hearing some woos and wows from the crowd. And I just heard some crunching noises. Here it is, Deep Thought, if you're just joining us. This is the abandoned boat that's been stuck down there in the water for 6 months, and this towing company says they could get the boat out, but this boat has not really moved all afternoon. Let's listen in just for a few seconds here. The fact that the workers have moved back a little bit tells me they're going to give it the heave-ho. Because there is always the concern that possibly, you know, whatever it's hooked onto rips out and the cord goes flying. So they have to use kind of caution when those cords get really tight from the towing. It can be really dangerous. And the fact that they're all kind of standing back means I think they're going to... Okay, yeah, you can hear the tow trucks look like they're working. Let's listen.
Any oil? Ready? Got any 40?
This is the most interesting thing that's happened in the last hour with the boat, because we actually hear it making noises. Because it ain't going to be pretty when they pull it up on those rocks, if they can get it up there. Okay, do you see that? They have a third tow line that just became tight. That's the tow truck on the far back in the right there. All right, so our time is running out here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Here's what we're going to do. We're not going to leave you hanging like this boat was left just abandoned in Milwaukee. This live picture will continue on fox6now.com, on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook channel. We'll have full coverage coming up very shortly here on Fox 6 News at 4. And you can follow everything here in the Fox Local app. There's a lot else going on as well. I'm seeing the Prime Minister of Canada just started speaking. A lot of news on that front as well today. So we'll keep covering that. If I was a betting man, I don't think the boat's coming out today. But I'm not an optimist all the time, and I should be, because look how many people they are down trying to get this boat out. Will they get it over the rocks? Will they not? It's the most interesting, wildest story we've covered in a while.